This time on Watchers of Tomorrow, we meet the goddess of empathy.
Hello, welcome to Watchers of Tomorrow, the sci-fi review and critique show that can't distinguish fantasy from reality, and that's why we're all here. My name is Gepler, and I'm joined as always by my friend and co-host Dr. Isix.
Hi.
And this week we have a fan favorite episode. I've always liked it. From what I was reading, apparently it's on like worst lists in various places.
Why?
One of the things said it was the worst of the holodeck themed episodes. Which I guess that is a like weird subset.
Yeah, but it's using the holodeck like in a useful and interesting way.
Yeah, it's using it as an actual storytelling device instead of this thing broke down and now we have to fight evil Abraham Lincoln.
Yes. Man, that would be an interesting go at a holodeck episode as evil Abraham Lincoln has taken over. And, it's all just, a normal holodeck program, but we don't know that until the very end.
Yeah, they never do the turnaround, actually. I don't think they've ever done a turnaround where they do the whole, oh my god, we're going to die, etc., etc., and then at the end it was just a normal holo novel about one of the times the holodeck went offline.
Yes. So, Star Trek writers, feel free to take that one.
I mean, it sounds like a Lower Decks episode to me.
Yes.
So this episode, of course, is Hollow Pursuits, which introduces one of the fan-favorite reoccurring characters, and also...
Leslie Shane. Wait, sorry.
It also explores what people would use a holodeck for. I mean, not realistically, because they never do that. They never really talk about that until DS9.
Although, I guess it's maybe implied... That kissing gets on is, rather intense.
Yeah. Yeah. This episode's kind of interesting to be written by one Sally Caves, which is the pen name of Sarah L. Higley, who is a professor at the University of Rochester, who also write part of the show Bible for DS9 and has a lot of academic and science fiction publications. I was looking through her academic work on the Rochester website, and a couple of my favorite things that I found here were a taste for shrinking movie miniatures and the Unreal City. Sounds very fun. And
I was actually spotting some cool stuff about people building miniatures the other day, and it's that's really vibing with you right
nice.
Now.
And finding the man under the skin identity, hybrid, expulsion, and the werewolf. That sounds fun. I need to read some of these. It's always hard to find academic papers.
True. Apparently, she's also involved with the episode Babel on Deep Space Nine.
Yes.
Where that's the one where everyone gets a virus that makes them babble.
Yeah, that makes them not be able to speak normal words.
Mm-hmm.
It's such an early episode.
Yes, it's like the 5th episode of this series. It's we're still finding devices and problems left over from the occupation sort of stuff.
They never did much interesting with that. Here's something left over that would have been great if it had actually hit the people that were oppressing us, but now it's an issue.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I suppose the better episode for that might be civil defense, but that's more of the Cardassians leaving something.
Well, this is mostly it's all just clean up your damn minds, people.
Yes.
Which we've already had at least one episode about that, so. 2, actually. Common theme. Anyway, we've got a couple of guest stars. Yeah. Charlie Lang is playing Duffy, who I feel like he shows up more than once. I literally can't remember right now.
He's someone who shows up in a lot of other science fiction, though.
Yeah, Duffy.
Yeah. I think this is the only official credited episode of TNG. So
he made his film debut in a musical biopic I've never heard of called Bird. Sounds weird.
Burp.
Bird is the word.
Burp. Yes. He was in a few things before then, but that's kind of
his film thing. He was in a Perry Mason TV movie. He had a lot of other contemporary TV appearances.
In The Flash, in fact. one episode.
Oh yeah, wonder which one.
Yeah.
I have that. I have that whole series on DVD.
Twin Streaks.
Okay, I
Is
don't
that a Twin
remember
Peaks,
that offhand.
Peaks reference?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it also showed up in an episode of Alien Nation, Fire in the Sky. He was Jarvis Powell. He's an episode of ER.
Yep.
A bunch of them in Dark Skies. I barely remember that show. Huh.
No.
Episode of Sliders. Also other non-sci-fi things like Ally McBeal.
We need to find a way to talk about Sliders. Sliders is not a good show overall, but has some very interesting individual episodes.
Yes. It's basically high concept, the series.
Yeah. What's my favorite is when they get to the planet where they have football mixed with math.
And the one character, one guy is, it's like I'm like a big sports star.
Yeah, he's a massive sports star because the entire game is answering physics questions while you throw balls at each other.
Yep.
Which I just loved because this is the vision of the future that nerds always want, and look how bad it is.
Yep.
Anyway, you don't really give a damn about Duffy. Everyone is here for one guy.
Cole Meany, right?
Yeah, Cole Meany, who shows up in this episode for a bit and then later references the episode in DS9.
Indeed.
But also Dwight Schultz is here as Reginald Barclay.
Yes. Yeah, he's been in a few things, I suppose.
Yeah, he was already a pretty well-known actor because he was on guest appearances on shows like Hill Street Blues, Dial M for Murder, had his breakout role as Captain Howlin' Mad Murdoch in the 80s classic The A-Team, which, as culturally ubiquitous as that show is, I have seen like one episode of.
I've seen a couple random episodes, but yeah, it's not something that's, I guess, people are demanding to be syndicated still at this point, but it exists, I suppose.
He also played the original J. Robert Oppenheimer in Fat Man and Little Boy movie. I think they made some sort of bad remake or something of that recently. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And
it's probably with completely different actors too.
Yeah, I know.
They're always doing that.
Why?
Stuff.
Like Fat Man and Little Boy is already a really good movie. I don't know why they had to remake it and just angst it up more.
He was in an episode of Flipper.
God damn it! Now that song is going to be stuck in my head all week.
All right, let's go for a different one. Touched by an Angel. He's an episode of that.
Oh, good God. I've only ever seen one episode of that show, and it was terrible.
He was the keeper in an episode of a Stargate SG-1.
Yeah, that was just weird. That was such a weird episode.
But he's done a lot more voice acting more recently. He was like scan technician in Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within.
Good God, yes. God, we're gonna have to talk about that eventually, aren't we?
He was the Vulture in the 2002 Spider-Man game.
Okay, fine. The Vulture.
Vulture.
Oh, Vulture. There we go. That's what happens when the electric guy and the Vulture collide.
I am Voltman. Well, why don't you just call yourself the Vulture? That's even better. He was some Mufu in Ninja Scrolls, the series.
Sounds bad. Sounds very bad.
I barely remember the movie for Ninja Scrolls, so yeah.
And then, of course, he's going to be Barclay in 4 more episodes of Next Generation, 6 episodes of Voyager, and the movie First Contact.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a really good reason to never learn anything about actors, because he's a complete douchebag.
Yep. Which I guess means when he's playing Neloth in Skyrim, it's very in character for him.
Yeah, complete racist.
Yeah, he sucks. But it's one of those cases where it's like, oh, this person did some cool stuff, and well, it would have been nice if that was all he did.
Well, it's one of those things. This always confuses me. I know people have wasted a lot of time and energy trying to explain why this makes sense to anyone, but it just doesn't. This is one of those like lifelong Star Trek fan people who went like, the real message behind Star Trek is racism and American exceptionalism.
So, follow the rules of the your commanding officer, even, as a civilian. Do it.
Which is just weird, because this episode is like the complete antithesis to that worldview.
Yep. Well, yeah, some people, see a thing and then promptly don't think about it at all.
But I think this is also a weird one when I'm going to get into the synopsis in a second. So the opening scene, we need to remember that this guy is known for playing the howling mad Murdoch character on the A-Team. People would recognize him from this. He's a very well-known actor at this point. Mm-hmm. Since I saw this well before the A-Team, I didn't get this introduction at all.
Yes.
But apparently, when he first shows up, he's basically playing that character. So then this whole scene that we're about to go through, you need to remember, is technically a subversion of expectations for people who grew up watching the A-Team in the 80s.
Yes. And, maybe if Mr. T was here, things would have ended up differently, but he's not in this episode.
Apparently not. I would love to see Mr. T on Next Generation. That would be great.
Yes.
So we have a new crew member who we've not seen before in 10 Forward. And Guinan calls him Barclay, and she's worried he's going to cause trouble, because this is now an old-timey Western bar, apparently.
Don't be causing no trouble here, otherwise we're going to have words.
And she doesn't do the accent, unfortunately. I wish, that'd be great.
Well, when Whoopi Goldberg tries an accent later in a Dixon Hill instance there, it doesn't go well.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I've never actually heard her do an accent in anything.
Yeah.
So some actors don't need to do voices. It's fine. Mm-hmm. So Barclay's swaggering around like he owns the place. He shuts down and pushes over Geordi. Riker comes in to call him out on his insubordination, and he puts Riker in an arm lock before swaggering over to Troi, who's been watching all of this with interest. She says she can feel his confidence and finds it attractive. Then Barclay gets a call on the comms because he's needed in the cargo bay, and he ends this holodeck program and leaves.
So you mean all of this... what we've seen is all an illusion?
Yeah, all this stuff where all of the characters were acting completely out of character. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So in the cargo bay, real Geordi's complaining about Barclay to Riker because he can't get to work on time. He barely skates by with minimum effort, and he's annoying.
Well, that kind of begs the question, why is he here?
Yeah, that is a good point. Everyone says, nobody gets here unless they deserve to be here. Mm-hmm. Also, Wesley's
the best.
Wesley's also coined the mean-spirited nickname Broccoli for him. Which...
That's not cool.
They all go oh yeah, that fits. It's how? Is broccoli a particularly lazy vegetable? Is that what we're getting? I don't...
Maybe they... yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
We all know after broccoli gained sentience in the... late 2010s
and proceeded to join the eugenics wars, a third phase, and the broccoli men were dangerous, but they were also late for everything, so they were easy to defeat.
Yeah, they showed up to the battlefield and where'd they go? Oh, they're not here yet. I guess we got to wait around. That's rude.
I guess we can ambush them. I guess and get the weed whacker.
Yes, they're also very small and squishy and go bad easily. And they're kind of a mid-tier vegetable, if we're being honest.
Yes. One of the few that I can actually stomach in moderate quantities, so there's that. But yeah, keeping them fresh, it's a pain.
Yeah, no one's cooking them right. That's your problem usually.
That's why I tend to go with them raw, because then no one's screwing it up.
That's true.
Including me.
Very lightly steam until they're just soft, and then serve with lemon and smoked salt if you have it.
Haven't tried lemon.
Yeah, they need citrus. Broccoli really needs citrus, especially if you steam it. But don't over-steam it, or it goes very mushy and starts to get that bad cabbage taste.
Yeah, I've done that by accident. Anyway, the episode.
Yeah. Barclay gets in and starts trying to hide behind some boxes very badly. But Geordi sees him and gets him to look at a grav lift that's been malfunctioning and is holding tissue samples from the Mctalkins that may cure some kind of disease on another planet. They're very unspecified about it. But they don't do a good job being containers because they are leaking everywhere.
Yes. It's maybe we should, I don't know, just send them our own containers so we don't have this problem.
Yeah, maybe put it in this. I have a Ziploc for you.
Yes. A Ziploc bag is more containing than your containers here. So
Riker tells Barclay that he's sick of seeing his name on reports, so he better step it up. Barclay's demeanor is completely different than in the holodeck. He's nervous, he's stuttering, he can't keep his mind on things for more than a minute. Mm-hmm. He looks over the grab lift and finds there's nothing wrong with it, but it still doesn't work and drops more canisters, which, then spread everywhere, and they need to go grab the things. But he promises to do more diagnostic.
Well, this diagnostic, hopefully it'll show that there was some doohickey that was broken, and because you weren't here, it's obviously going to be your fault. That's where the plot's going, right?
Yeah, probably. This thing broke because you weren't here to fix it, and now we fire you, and it's a very short episode about how you should work harder. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, Barclay.
Or, you'll get the whip again.
Oh no, that doesn't sound good.
It's the future. Who knows what's happening?
I mean, it is the Navy. Navy very big on whipping, historically.
Mm-hmm. Get him on the post, the yard arm, and all the other things there that sound navally.
So Riker and Geordi take their complaints about Barclay to Picard, who tells them that dumping someone else's problem is too easy, and Geordi needs to do some leadership and get him working as well as everyone else. Also, no nicknames. Stop that.
Yes. Yeah, Picard's really like, that's so juvenile. Stop it.
This is another episode that reminds me, there's been a meme going around on Tumblr, the Star Trek side of Tumblr, that's basically, Next Generation gave me extremely unrealistic ideas about the professionalism of most workplace settings.
That's a good point, actually. I remember the time I went into the lab at a previous job, and it's like, I'm going to go check on my simulation, see what's going on, and a couple of my coworkers were on the cake porn Reddit.
Oh, great.
Yes. Just going, man, that looks delicious. Let's go to the next one. Oh, man, that looks delicious.
Now, this whole episode is, this guy's a problem. It's like, maybe the problem is your leadership. It's like, oh, man, you're probably right. You're a stupid captain being right about things.
I guess I'll reach out to him and try to, stop keeping it at arm's length and maybe treat him like a human being a little bit.
Yeah.
If I have to, I guess.
So in order to try to get Barclay to come out of his shell a bit, Geordi starts being very nice. I asked him to attend engineering meetings, morning briefing. And Barclay only arrives a minute or two late this time because, treating him better is starting to work a little bit.
Yeah, and I guess also it might be early enough that he hasn't been distracted by, something.
Possibly,
maybe, maybe a room with a bunch of lines on the walls.
They all plan some engineering stuff, basic maintenance and things. Before Barclay's asked to go over the grav lift problem, he stutters his way through some explanations before Wesley just steps in and analyzes his entire approach about how wrong he is. It's like, no, it wouldn't do that and it wouldn't do that. Maybe you should check this thing.
Well, I'm trying to explain what I did, and that's exactly that. Come on, kid.
So Barclay later complains about being shown up by a teenager to Counselor Troi, before deciding he's in the mood for something more exotic and changes the program to a fantasy glade where Troi is now the goddess of empathy.
Huh. And some cool robes going on here, and so this is like some fantasy adventure thing. We're going to go on a quest, right?
Yeah, he's just, I don't know what he's doing, but there's a lot of random shit here, and it's in the woods.
Yeah. Yes, this quest is going to be sex.
Yeah, it seems likely.
Yes.
So in 10 Forward, Wesley and Data and Geordi are hanging out with the newish Duffy guy. They talk to Wesley about how he kind of shut down Barclay and feels bad. Data doesn't understand why they keep using a mean nickname for him, which relates to how they need to stop bullying to the guy.
Yeah.
Stop it.
It seems to be a really misplaced pun here. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Why are you using this clandestinely against him? It seems like a jerk move, guys.
Yeah, it's like usually nicknames for familiarity and companionship. It's like, oh, yeah, shit, getting called out by Data again.
Yeah. Dang it, Data's being more human than us.
The discussion is interrupted because Duffy's glass starts to melt in his hands.
Is it made out of chocolate?
Nope. As far as we can tell, it's a glass.
Yeah.
So this is
shouldn't
bad.
be doing that. Yeah.
So I take the glass to engineering to work out what went wrong. It doesn't seem to be a problem with the replicator because the contents of the glass was fine. And the only thing they could think of would be the exposure to a high energy power source, meaning they need to do a diagnostic on every power relay in the entire ship. Geordi ropes Barclay into it, but then Barclay goes, oh yeah, I was going to do that anyway, because, I don't know any other way to explain the grav lift malfunction, because, still nothing's wrong with it still. So maybe they might be related.
Yeah, so there's exposure to a high energies. Wait a moment. Are you saying that there's a radiation leak on deck 12?
Possibly.
And if we go there, there's going to be an opening in a stasis device, and we're going to go in there. It's going to take us back in time to a period before the accident.
Wasn't that Voyager? Which one was that? There was something.
Oh, this is a Red Dwarf episode, actually,
okay.
referencing.
Sounds like a Voyager episode. I think it's the one with the time missile.
Which one with the time missile?
I think it's the one where Kes keeps traveling back to different points of her life or something.
Well, there was the radiation bit with all of that. It helped, I guess, set it up that will get activated in alternative timeline future. And then that kicks off the entire episode in the first place. Yeah.
But yeah, Red Dwarf also works.
Yes.
Anyway, Geordi, Data, and Barclay take the glass to Picard because it might be a larger problem. He's glad they're working on it, and then slips up and congratulates Mr. Barclay. Then just shuts up and basically leaves.
It's like, sorry about that. I'm out of here.
Geordi heads to Guinan to get her help because she hasn't been in this episode enough for how much they have to pay for Whoopi Goldberg, basically.
Yes, you get 2 scenes automatically. Otherwise, why would you bother? Yeah.
He wants to talk about how to get along with Barclay better, and she says that she just lets him keep to himself for the most part, and he reminds her of her uncle, who was the black sheep of the family because he was a bad influence, and so he was the only member of the family that she liked.
I wonder if I'm the good influence for the quirkiest members of my family.
Maybe. You need one weirdo in every family. So yes. If she's a listener and comes from a family of listeners, and this guy was a bad influence, was he a talker?
Well, I guess it gives you practice if you're going to be listening all the time, you know?
Yeah. You need someone talking to listen. Like, it's kind of implied.
Otherwise, just everyone's being quiet around each other and just waiting patiently.
Geordi goes off to find Barclay on the holodeck, which they should install some locks on.
Yes. Maybe have a basic alert for the people inside of, somebody has entered. Maybe it's time to put your pants back on.
Yeah, let's maybe fix this. Of course, I guess we don't know. Maybe they just holograph some pants on immediately, just automatically.
Yeah.
Geordi enters to find himself in a bad set full of fake plants and some faker-looking ruins.
Star Trek location 416.
Yeah, basically. But it looks very old series in this one. They're not trying.
Yeah. I think it might be the lighting.
He finds Crusher on a swing and Wesley stuffing his face with pie in a little blue boy outfit. Then Barclay appears in a 4-way sword fight with Geordi, Picard, and Data.
Wait a moment. Geordi's here twice.
Yeah, it's too many Geordis.
Too many Geordis.
He dispatches 2 of them and then holds Picard at sword point when Picard notices other Geordi. And Barclay does not like that.
Like, I guess there's a attempt at distraction. Oh, it's real. Crap.
Yeah, he's like, I won't fall for that. And then Geordi clears his throat. It's like, well, shit. So back in 10 forward, Barclay says he'll request a transfer because it's too embarrassing. But Geordi's not mad. He does think it's a little weird to create real people you already know in the holodeck. But as long as it doesn't interfere with your work, what someone does in the holodeck stays in the holodeck. Though I know that the entire thing with the Star Trek Next Generation future is we trust everyone, so we don't put restrictions on things because we just implicitly trust everyone's going to be as good as they can be. But maybe you should put a little bit of a block on creating real people in the fucking holodeck. just a little.
Yeah, if you want people to use your image in such thing, you could fight a checkboxing ticket. But otherwise,
maybe there's an opt-in.
Yeah. In which case, if there is an opt-in that's just not talked about ever, then maybe it's a little quirky. Yeah,
Good
it's
job.
a little quirky, perhaps. Yeah, that all of them decided to take the box then.
So Barclay just thinks other people don't understand him. He's afraid of people. He's afraid of people all the time. So he makes people in the holodeck to feel more real to him. And so he can just kind of blow off steam that he can't in real life.
No, that actually seems like a reasonable thing to be doing. This is a means to express yourself without the consequences. And maybe even you have some practice at interacting with people.
So Geordi's very understanding about all this, but he gets called away by O'Brien to look at the transporter. And as he leaves, he suggests / orders Barclay to see real Counselor Troi.
Oh, wait a moment. Counselor Troi, he maybe had a fling with, but in the holograph form? This might really, really awkward.
Depends. I mean, if they opt into... They must know what they're opting into if they do check a box on the holodeck.
Yes.
I know it's never talked about, but like people must know what they get up to in there. I guess we do have a really sex-positive future.
Yeah, and like someone wants to have sex with you, but they don't actually want to have sex with you. Okay. What do we do about this? Holograms. I'm in.
Yeah, it's just great. It solves everything, and since you don't have to be ashamed of sex stuff, there's really no injury to your general moral character.
And it also means that folks that maybe don't want to have everyone hitting on them constantly can just point them to the holodeck program. It's like, yeah, if you just did it for the sex, go over there.
So Ryan says he was doing some routine maintenance on the transporter, something he's done 100 times with test objects. He transports it from one place to another a couple of times before it turns into a steaming pile of melted metal.
Wait a moment, I've seen the steaming pile of molten metal before.
Or have we not seen it yet?
Ta-da! I think that's the same one they had in a test transport previously. It just changed up a little bit.
Yeah, maybe a little. The thing I read said they used it in Data's Day, which I don't think we've gotten to.
Well, maybe I got it backwards.
So, Riker wants Barclay to report to them immediately because maybe all this stuff is connected to all the other problems they've been working on. Geordi pushes it back a bit because Barclay is seeing Counselor Troi, who is making him visibly uncomfortable. She tries to help him relax, has him do a breathing exercise. He loves it. He's like, yes, breathing, in and out. Amazing concept. Thank you. And then runs away.
Yes. You've solved all my neuroses forever. Hooray. Bye.
This is like the most real depiction of therapy I've seen on this show. Later, Troi finds Geordi because, that was weird. And Riker's fed up because Barclay's late again. And he storms off to the holodeck to confront Barclay. Since Geordi knows what's going on, he grabs Troi and runs after him.
Yeah, this is going to be a disaster of some sort. I need backup just in case Riker
come with me. This is going to get real bad real fast.
Alternatively, Geordi is like, this is going to be a disaster, and you want to see it too.
Yeah, that's true. Could do that. Yeah. Or we're worried Riker's going to be too into it.
Who knows? Maybe, having an audience there causes Riker to be all, I'm going to be grumpy instead of like, maybe I should have a copy of this myself.
Now back in the forest, they find the three musketeers of Geordi, Data, and Picard hanging out with Wesley and his pie. Wesley's just always eating pie. I don't know. I know that's just like the Blue Boy thing, which I don't think had anything to do with pie, as I remember. Does he think Wesley is too skinny? Is he insecure about how skinny Wesley is?
Maybe. So I'm going to keep feeding you and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So Riker's about to shut down the program. Troi stops him because dragging Barclay out of his coping mechanism could be harmful.
So, let's not do that yet.
No. So they demand the sword fighters lead them to Barclay, but they would rather make fun of Riker.
You are not going to fight us? Then what good are you?
So Riker refuses to fight, and they call for number one, who's very short and excitable. Tiny Riker runs out of the woods.
And they even, pitch up his voice a bit there.
Yeah.
So it's like a little, hi there, how you doing?
Troi thinks it's very, very funny.
Oh, yeah.
So you are quite tall.
You're 10,000 feet tall. It's natural that someone might be intimidated by that.
So Riker deletes number one, causing everyone else to turn their back because of his unfair treatment and refuse to help.
So it would be kind of funny to have a Munchkin Land version of Riker running around leading them through the forest.
It probably just didn't work out for filming reasons.
Yeah, so that would require some composite effects and things like that.
So they continue on. They find the goddess of empathy. Troi is very suddenly less amused, but Riker's enjoying a little bit of revenge.
Computer, delete the goddess of... nope. You said we should, not remove his coping mechanisms.
Remember coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
She does tell the goddess of empathy to shut up, though. I guess because she's saying a bunch of vapid shit. Because I do think it's interesting. They show up, and the goddess of empathy, flowing robes, etc., etc. She's wearing more clothes than Troy's normal uniform.
Yes. It's like, oh, yeah, this is less revealing generally. I guess you can see more of her one shoulder.
Yeah. So if you're really into that one shoulder.
Maybe Betazoids are? I don't know.
Yeah, to Betazoids, it's really all about the shoulders. Meanwhile, on the bridge, the speed is increasing. Unexpectedly. The matter-antimatter injector's locked for a second, and that's bad.
Yeah. When you're having more antimatter, that's going to cause more power to be generated in your device there, and well, that might not necessarily be a good thing.
Yeah, Picard tells Geordi they should probably get to engineering and maybe keep them from exploding.
Geordi to the rescue!
They move on from the goddess of empathy to finally find Barclay napping in Fake Crusher's lap.
Very a mothering sort of vision of Crusher here.
Yeah. Riker and Troi both have many things to talk to Barclay about, but first they need to get him to engineering so they can fix the warp core before they all die.
First, they need to wake him up.
Yeah. So on the way, they do bond a little because Geordi understands being obsessed with holodeck characters, because of the whole Leia Brahms thing we had before.
Yes.
But you need to know when to turn it off and come to the real world because you need to keep this ship from exploding.
In that case, there was a energy crunch that was maybe pushing him a little bit up until the end there, but,
yeah. So in engineering, the injectors are jammed. They said physically. I don't know how that happens with a magnet, but sure.
Yeah.
Something's holding the magnetic field open.
Maybe there's a physical mechanism that shifts the magnets to sort of have them pulse in a certain way to help the antimatter along. But you could also do a lot of this with electromagnets, and you could do it a bit more carefully, I suppose.
Yeah. Seems like having a physical mechanism in this instance would be a bad idea. Unless it's the physical mechanism that slams shut when something goes wrong.
Yeah.
You could maybe have one of those.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. Sure, you'd be having antimatter run into effectively a concrete block, and that could shower radiation across the engineering, which could be bad for everyone in engineering, of course. But hey, at least the ship's not going to explode then, right?
But doesn't antimatter basically only blow up when it hits the equivalent matter? Isn't it not just any matter?
Oh yeah, but the equivalent matter, is ups and down quarks and electrons if you're dealing with positrons and things like that.
Okay, so eventually you get to a base material.
Yeah, it's just a matter of getting it in the right place at the right time, and if there's enough material of just whatever in the way, it tends to get there pretty quickly. But you are correct.
So the ship's going to rip itself apart in 15 minutes. So all ideas on the table. Now it can cause an engine malfunction, melting glass, and a grav lift to fail, and transporter problems.
And whatever is happening to Riker's beard.
So no one has any ideas until Barclay goes, what if it's one of us? Because we've interacted with all of those systems, and we're the only thing connecting them.
Yeah, you see throughout the episode, Barclay's been sort of hinted at as a very creative thinker, and that might be why he's constantly in a state of fear, that he's catastrophizing constantly.
Yeah.
And so, just thinking about things too much, but now he's thinking about things so much that it's actually leading us to a possible solution.
Yeah. I'm just going to say this because it's ridiculous. I don't know if I'm going to cut this out or not. There's a literal marching band going by outside. I don't know if this is picking up on the mic, and I'm probably just going to keep going. But I think it's worth people knowing that there's a literal marching band happening outside my window for some reason.
That's kind of amazing. They're celebrating Barclay coming to a good suggestion to solve our problem.
Yeah, there we go. This is just a random street in Brooklyn. I don't know. So they search for substances that mess with all the things that have been messed with. And they find an old chemical that hasn't been used for years, so there's no way to know how it would interact with modern systems. But might still be used in something like, an old alien medical container.
Yeah, like those ones that they're dropping all over the place earlier.
Yeah. So they run down to the cargo bay and find the stuff they're looking for. And with that confirmed, they spray cold gas on the engines because that should make the thing inert.
Yeah, like chemically deactivated or something like that.
Yeah, so they finally are able to shut the engines down, and they limp back to a starbase for decontamination.
So yeah, we're going to be on impulse now for the next 74 years.
So since Barclay saved the ship, they let him off the hook for all the other stuff. Good job.
Apparently, your fearful response to everything is a sign that you are useful to the crew, and thus we will not exile you.
Later, Barclay heads to the bridge to say goodbye to everyone. He appreciates all their support, and we're welcoming, etc., etc., but it's time for him to move on. So he ends the program and deletes all of his holodeck stuff. Except Program 9, because they have the worst file naming conventions ever.
Yes. Though this might just be a product of the how they autosave things.
Yeah,
It's like
possibly.
whoever's autosaving is just going to put your name on it, number 5.
It's so terrible. It's like, accept program 9. It's like, how do you even remember what these are? First thing they teach you in programming is stop naming stuff random shit like I and T, because you will not remember what it is in 10 minutes.
The only real exceptions is like a really short for loop. I just need a variable, and it's not going to go further than this. And if it does for some reason, then I need to rethink my entire approach.
Well, like until 20 lines later when you're like, oh shit, I need to use that for something.
Yeah.
Damn. What did I call that?
Then you rethink things and start over.
Anyway, that's it. Holo Pursuits. Don't get addicted to the holodeck.
Yeah. Or I guess maybe a couple of ways we could sort of take things at this point. We could talk about like video game addiction, how people with certain personalities interact with others. We could even talk about contamination, just physical contamination between various points, and sometimes it's a really good idea just to wash your damn hands.
Yeah, took us forever to get to that one. We might be going back because we're going to dismantle the health services.
Man, I really hope that worm wins the day.
Anyway, yeah.
Anyone outside the U.S. is probably really confused right now.
That's fine. That's fine. Everyone hates it when shows about Star Trek get political.
Those fools!
I was trying to do some reading to figure out what their intention behind like writing the episode this way was, and I found basically nothing. There's like a bit of a rumor that Barclay is supposed to be sort of making fun of obsessive Star Trek fans who get really into fictional characters, but everyone else in the crew denies that.
Yeah, that seems very much a product of critique, not a result of anyone intentionally doing that.
Yeah, largely it just seems to be this very generic, don't get lost in your escapist fantasies, people, which, weirdly, the episode handles this so well, there's not a ton to talk about with things like that, because they recognize that someone's using escapist fantasy to deal with a problem in their actual life, and so they do what they can to address the problem, making their need for their escapist fantasy less.
Indeed. I'm going to maybe actually be argue that sometimes it is good to have an escapist fantasy independent of having problems in your life.
Well, yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. Which I'm okay with Barclay keeping one of those programs for that.
Well, it's like that old thing, like I know that there are different ways of looking at addiction, but there's a pretty well accepted idea that if you view getting over whatever kind of addiction, and we might have to talk about addiction a little bit because we have a weird conception of addiction nowadays, but getting over any kind of addiction, there's two ways to think about it, and one of them just seems not to work particularly well, which is you can choose to try to never, ever, ever engage with the thing again forever and ever. And any time that you do it is considered a massive, terrible failure, relapse. You've failed utterly. You have to start all over again. How could you?
You've morally bankrupted yourself by slipping up once.
Yeah. And the other way is to be like, maybe the idea is to get to a place where you are no longer unhealthily abusing whatever the thing is, but you interact with it normally, kind of the way everybody else usually does.
And if your addiction is playing Russian roulette, then the normal option might be not doing that still.
Well, that's probably not one you should engage with generally.
Yeah, but for most other things, it's like it's like the video game addiction that everyone's talking about occasionally. If you play video games as a pastime, and it doesn't prevent you from doing the things in your life that you both want and need to do, then playing video games is fine.
Yeah, we don't want to admit that there are societal problems in play on these things. If you're getting more consistent and rewarding experiences from playing a video game over and over, that seems like an issue, because you're not getting consistently rewarding experiences in the rest of your life. And we love to say stuff like, well, video games are designed to do this for you, but why isn't anything else?
Yeah, it's like, yes, this is what video games do. We should have more things that reward people for, doing the stuff.
But like, even if you don't talk about an actual like extrinsic reward for doing a thing, there's plenty of stuff that people just find intrinsically rewarding. Having nice conversations, meeting fun people, doing things that help others in their day-to-day life, feeling useful in general.
Yeah,
The fact that people
nice
aren't getting that in their day-to-day lives is an issue. It's a systemic problem.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the fact that video games have decided to trick your brain into giving you endorphins or whatever.
And there's plenty of folks that call things like having a good working relationship with your coworker superfluous because that's not doing the job. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I knew
it's wasting company time and crap like that.
I knew somebody who worked for a company here who had to leave because their bosses decided that laughing on the job was not allowed because it indicated that you weren't working, you were just having fun with people.
I'm gonna put down a big WTF.
Yeah.
Like, really, what the hell? When bosses like get stuff in like this in their head, it's like, are you like, did somebody hurt you? What's going on? Really?
Probably. They probably read one of these bad CEO books and were like, this is why my productivity is low.
This is the one trick I could use to change everything around and make all the money. Oh. No, it doesn't work like that. You've been scammed. You've been grifted. Congratulations, you're a fool.
This is why
your foolishness is pushing others to be miserable.
This is why I find the idea that anyone could look at this character and work it into some sort of odd right-wing worldview of exceptionalism. Because this episode is so clearly about how anyone can fall into problems if the people around them aren't being supportive and treating them well. And if they do, then anyone can contribute just as much as anyone else. It's not, this guy is exceptional and he was able to save the day because of his exceptionality. Like, this guy would have not been around to help anyone if other people had not started supporting him earlier in the episode.
Yeah. He'd be, maybe doing his job, but, not really, sharing his findings with anyone. And basically the crew would have to either figure out on their own without his assistance what's up, which would take longer, possibly, get them all killed. Or
more than those 15 minutes.
Yeah. So, it's very much a, he was going to be doing his thing anyway. But there is a definite, by making a more accepting and integrating sort of culture here that allows people that are different to feel comfortable with themselves in this work environment, we're able to work more efficiently together.
Yeah, because they even said he's good at his job because everyone here is good at their job. Because you don't do this if you're not good at your job.
We're in the future where if you are good at something and you like doing it, you're allowed to do it. And if you're not good at it and you don't like enjoying it, then you might not be doing it. And there might be a few jobs where you're terrible at it, but you enjoy it and people let you do it because you just need more bodies, I guess. But everything else, it's like you can kind of find your own way. You can find your calling of your heart and follow it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Go look at that grav lift forever.
Yeah.
Which I think is another interesting one. Like, most modern jobs now, I know that this is not a real situation that would happen, but if this was a modern, normal job, he'd be given 5 minutes to look at the grav lift, and then they would have just kept using it anyway. And then they would have let the ship blow up because it would have been more expensive to try to figure out what was wrong with it. Yep.
The grav lift isn't working. We should put a big wheel under it, and that'll be good enough. All right.
Now you should probably just use it anyway, and let it drop things on you.
Yeah. Or you turn off the grav portion of it, and you lift the entire slab of that is the grav lift, and carry it and all the containers instead of carrying the containers individually. Because you have to use the grav lift, and just because it's not working doesn't mean you shouldn't use it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, work environments. They can be terrible, and it'd be nice if they weren't.
It's like one of the central conceits of this show that people took as a weird criticism of a writing limitation for some reason is if everyone is nice and professional and genuinely likes each other, they can take care of more problems. Which somebody read as, I'm not allowed to make the crew hate each other, and I'm a lazy writer who can't write anything if it's not boring interpersonal drama.
Now there is a room in the world for professionals having professional relationship and generally being okay with that, and thus what drama ends up happening between them is pretty light stuff, which is pretty much TNG to a T. There is of course the extremist options of everyone has to be at each other's throats constantly versus everyone agrees 100% even if it makes no sense, sort of stuff there. But that's not really what we're seeing, especially at this point of TNG here.
No, they like each other and they're good at what they're doing.
Yeah, there's maybe some head scratchers in the first season, but at this point they've kind of figured out the way to sort of rule forward with it.
And then later, all the people who can't do anything but write boring interpersonal drama went off to write DS9 with a bunch of people who don't like each other and aren't very professional, and they started a war. Yep. So see how that worked out for you.
Though I mostly keep a lot of my critique of the interpersonal nonsense there. Unfortunately, mostly around Jadzia, but that's because she's kind of confusingly written character.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you have just blatant misogynists running the show.
Yeah,
which happens a lot.
Yeah, which is sucks. Let's stop doing that.
We could, but then people like Barclay wouldn't be in charge.
Maybe it's maybe a case of maybe we should change things up anyway.
Yeah.
This whole idea that folks that are socially awkward should be in charge and is a sort of a screw you guys to the entire world has always been kind of baffling to me, because the world's not this weird thing that's out to get you specifically, guys.
Well, it's the good old magic. What do you call it? Magic child. There's a better word for this that I'm blanking on.
The Harry Potter effect?
Yeah. We have a general idea that you're supposed to, someone can be socially awkward and bad and not good at interacting with people, but it's okay because they're actually magically good at other stuff. So something to do with savantism, where we accept a certain amount of not great from people because they're good at things. And we've then taken that to this weird other extreme where we now go, well, this person intentionally is a douchebag to everyone around them. Therefore, they must be good at what they're doing.
Yeah, I think this is better explored in House, where he is kind of intentionally a douchebag.
Yeah, House is just weird. House doesn't... But he's never wrong. He, cures bisexuality. Because it was actually a brain tumor or something.
And, this guy, also a brain tumor, someone having, a violent outburst. And, the reason your kid's sick is because he ate his identical twin or something. I don't know.
It's just fun, because every time something challenges House's worldview, it's a brain tumor.
Which is, I do enjoy that show to a certain degree, but there is certain medical twists that are just really? Come on.
Yeah, the show's not bad. It's well acted. I like the character, but the way the worldview that it presents is this guy is actually magically right about everything. And anytime it looks like he's not, it's because you're wrong, and he actually was.
And, the one or two times he is wrong, it's in the middle of the episode, so you expect him to be wrong at that point.
Which I do think this episode is very much, it's pushing up against this thing, and it's difficult to not continue reading it that way. Later on, the Barclay character does turn into that in later things, especially in Voyager, where nobody trusts him on things because he's weird and awkward and obsessive, but he turns out to be right, and he's the only one that can turn on the communication doodah and save them or whatever. And he has to go against everyone's orders to push through this thing. So later on, he does turn into the magic weirdo. But in this episode, he's only able to contribute to anyone surviving this situation because he got support from the people who weren't supporting him in the first place.
Indeed. Yeah, would have been nice to have more of that echoed in future stuff there, or maybe even, he is the supported one and he's running into someone who isn't, and it's like, hey, you've been, you're having a bad time here, but I've been in this exact position myself. Here are maybe some bits of advice to sort of get through things. That would have been an interesting way to go with it instead.
Yeah, but they had to just write him into a trope character later, so.
Yeah. So, I'd say that this is maybe definitely on the better side of the characters' episodes here. Though I do kind of enjoy the one where he does get zapped by an alien thing and becomes a supercomputer.
Yeah, that one's just fun. I don't even remember that being a super good episode, but it's very fun.
Yes. It's like, you don't have this in the computer's database? Well, here's how to build one.
Yeah. Also, the great floating head.
Giant floating head. Giant floating head, you are so magical. Is there anything else we should probably be poking at here?
I don't know. This episode's very straightforward, all things considered.
Yeah. Well, I will say that as a young person, I was definitely in the socially awkward sort of category, and my peers didn't necessarily get me very much here, but to a certain degree, I took a different approach to the character Barclay's here. By instead of just being nervous, I decided to not give a crap for a while.
Yeah.
And that was middle school for me.
Yeah, that works out sometimes. Somehow it slips up when you get older sometimes. But
yeah, and I guess by having a certain, detachment from, being invested in those around me, it let me sort of, use the things that I am good at and sort of study some of the dynamics between people. And get clued in on some of the dynamics that I wasn't quite catching on to instinctually, and so I was able to sort of integrate those into my behavior later, picking the ones that I liked and tossing the jerk face moves that I sometimes saw people do instead.
Oh, how autistic of you!
And so it's I have no idea if I'm anywhere on the spectrum there myself, but it was very analytical of me, and there are still times where I get kind of quiet and nervous, but I guess I have something of like an internal timer when I'm in social situations and find myself just not interacting with people, that basically prompts me to jump into a conversation or kick one off. Sometimes by saying, it's like asking the most absurd question possible if there's nothing really to latch onto, or kick off look to someone who hasn't talked for a while and say, "Hey, so what's your deal?"
Yeah, usually if you find the other person who's not talking, they want to.
Yeah,
if it's a social gathering.
Mm-hmm. And, either we'll start interacting with the group together, or we'll break off and interact pretty well one-on-one. And that can actually be quite great. There was a meeting of some writers type folks a few years back, and I was kind of running the same situation a bit, and everyone was kind of in their own social groups there. And I saw someone on the other side of the room that was, not really interacting with things. So I went over to them and was like, "Hey, what's up?" And so I watched this movie recently, and et cetera, and had this sort of trope. But what do you think about that? And then we started having a conversation about that. So cool stuff. So if you ever need advice on interacting with people at an awkward party, let me know. All right, guys?
Yeah, join the Discord and ask for specific advice about awkward social situations.
Yes. I guess another thing is getting back to that, not giving a crap sort of a vibe there. Sometimes that's really the only way to get that social interaction started. And it can be intimidating at first, but with practice, you can actually kind of make good use of it. All right, well, here's this random thing that happened to me the other day. And everyone's like, That's really confusing. Why did that happen? Like, well, let me explain.
Yeah, sometimes it really is the only way through.
So, this one time I was on a mountain using some magic crystals, and they're like, what?
Well, everyone loves talking about their D&D characters now.
Yes, that's also an option, and so sometimes it's fun to pull out my more absurd D&D characters. Not like the this is my sweet little guy, goblin guy who's going to die at one hit, but here's the one with the weird rich backstory that this is the surprise twists here and there, and by the time they're done, they're like, huh, maybe I should have done more background for my characters. I'm like, I know, I sometimes I start writing and it just keeps going. Anyway. See, Gepwin, I've dominated the conversation for the last couple minutes here, and it's just me going on and rolling it, and that's fine.
Yeah, it works. It doesn't. It's fine. You can do that. You go find people that don't want to talk and talk to them. That's always how I made friends in high school.
Yeah. Yeah, and do be careful, though. You don't want to be talking at them. You want to be talking with them. Talking at them is like I'm just going to unload everything about, I don't know, the Witcher series. I've never seen or read any of the books, but imagine I had an encyclopedic knowledge of that, and I'm just going to start outputting that here, and insert entire backstory here for that series, and then you're like, all right, well, I don't really have any attachment to it, so that's kind of frustrating. But what if instead I asked, like, have you ever read this? And you were like, yes. Let's talk about that. Something similar. One of my students was like, it's like, hey, you've seen the Lord of the Rings. I'm like, of course. It's like, it's like, what do you think about this one thing in the Rings of Power? I'm like, well, according to this, that's that other thing. This is a divergent from the written material, but that's fine because the written material will be like, yeah, this guy would not be alive for another 1,500 years, so it would be kind of boring just to hang out with some elves for a few millennia. So I'm okay with that. Anyway, and so we could have like a bit of a conversation there, and make sure people are at least have a minimal investment in the thing you want to talk about with them. Otherwise, it can get rather frustrating. It's like when people they want to talk sports ball with me. I'm like, I know that there's some teams. I know the general rules of football or baseball or whatever, but I have absolutely no investment in the current state of play in the major sports there. So,
but I did get good advice on that, where if you do have somebody with the thing that you're only sort of interested in, but you want to talk to them anyway, you're like, I don't know much about that. What do you find interesting about it?
There you go, yes. And then they can expound, and people, as you already mentioned, sometimes really want to talk, and sometimes they are really eager to talk about themselves. Sometimes they're really eager to talk about their subject of interest, and just getting them prompted and going can be great. And so there you go.
Yeah, because I don't know anything about sports ball, but I know people who like to explain it.
Yes. Now, is this the one with the sticks and the ice? No, that's hockey. This is cricket.
So there's only sometimes ice and bigger, heavier sticks.
Yes, all right. Is this the one with the net? No, you're thinking of tennis or possibly badminton. I could never tell the difference between a tennis racket and a badminton racket. I guess one of them is heavier, I guess.
One's tiny. Badminton rackets are tiny and have a long stick and a rounder on the end.
But why?
Because you're hitting a tiny little shuttlecock instead of a fast-moving ball.
And why did our a PE class sometimes just give us a mix of the two?
I mean, because you had an underfunded PE class, probably.
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprised that either of those worked for either thing, honestly.
No, going back to middle school, we did have a pretty good PE set up there because we actually got to do some archery in 8th grade and actually had working bows. They weren't perfect. They weren't good for any range, but it's like a 30-yard target.
Oh, that's fun. They didn't test us with weapons.
Yeah. It's like if one of these actually hits somebody, it might be a case of, all right, you might break the skin because there's not much power there. But yeah, it was a good time there. Unfortunately, that particular PE teacher passed away, so that's kind of sad.
Unfortunate.
But it was that was also sort of the year where I was like actually like inspired to like do stuff in PE, so because they were a pretty good teacher. So anyway, the high school PE stuff was kind of pointless and silly. It's like, all right, we're gonna go hang out in the weight room. Most people aren't gonna do anything. I guess I'll be here and lift some weights.
That sounds depressing.
Yeah. The teacher just kind of playing at the computer the entire time. Yep.
Oh no. Anyway,
Yeah.
I got depressing again.
Yeah.
Do that.
I'm glad I could bring it back for you.
Which usually means it's time for the Galaxy's favorite game show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Galaxy's favorite game show. Our various contestants have been racking up all sorts of points here, all mostly in the holodeck it looks like here. Cool. But we do have a few winners here, so let's get started. Our first winner today is Barclay, who wins the Do You RP prize, which goes to him for his holo addiction, apparently, and having a rich fantasy life is all well and good. Just be careful about letting it dominate your real life. So, Barclay, good on you for having the fantasy life, and getting it sorted and balanced, but more realistically here. So what does he win, Gepwin?
Barclay wins some game design classes. These programs are so boring.
Yep.
Just all of them are so boring. Maybe if you made something that was actually engaging, you would get what you needed out of it a little bit more and be able to use it to actually recharge and help with the rest of your life instead of just spending your entire time in there, trying to get something out of it. Make something interesting in one of these things for once.
Outside Dixon Hill, we don't really get to hovel novels proper until Voyager, which is a little weird. Though in DS9, there's a lot of Miles and Bashir running around and killing lots of people in simulated battles to think about. But anyway, our second prize is the Berserker Button prize, which goes to Picard upon hearing about Barclay's unfortunate demeaning nickname. Hopefully, he never ends up using it himself. Whoops. What does he win, Gepwin?
Picard wins his own fun captain nickname. It's the perfect out for these situations. This is like, oh, broccoli. Everyone calls me Pickles.
Someone tried to make have me called Pickard. That didn't go down so well. Hopefully, no one brings that up later.
Yeah, I had him shot.
Baldy's just out too, so Our final prize today is the After School Special Prize, which goes to Jordy because sometimes you just got to reach out to people who are having a hard time socially and, help them out and let them feel welcome. So, come on, Jordy. Time you learn your lesson, and good on you for doing so. What does he win, Gepwin?
Jordy wins. We've had a lot of fun this episode, but holo addiction isn't a real thing because holodecks don't exist. So, reach out to your friends and loved ones, I guess.
Yes. And, if you want to get into a rich fantasy life, either get a tabletop RPG group together or join FetLife. I don't know. That's all I got here today, Gepwin, and feel free to take us away.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining us here on the Galaxy's favorite game show.
So, did you collect anything?
Collect just generally. Yeah, I collect Zelda stuff.
Like you have the Master Sword?
I do somewhere, yeah.
Excellent. Just then you'll be able to defeat the darkness and all that.
Yeah. I got all the original games, even for ones that I don't have the consoles for anymore. and random toys, weird Japanese things that came from gacha games.
Nice. My first Zelda game was Zelda 2.
Oh no.
Long story short on how I came across it, but yeah, it was the first one I played, and I actually meant to like eventually beat it, like, you know, before guides and walkthroughs and all that sort of stuff. So that was, you know, kind of a thing I managed to do. So that was cool. Took me forever. Especially with the NES system, you know, it's like, yes, we'll maybe save your data.
Oh, yeah. Oof.
And then we're going to give you the flashing blue screen next time. I guess I collect friends.
But not in a creepy way, right? You don't just have them stored in your basement.
No, I don't got a basement for that, so I can't do that. I don't know if I have anything that you could really say I collect, but maybe fond memories or something like that.
All this is to say that we're getting into the collectors, which weren't a thing until Lower Decks decided to keep making jokes about them.
Yeah, I think I would sort of canonize this thing so that there's like maybe these one or two guys are like a whole sort of society of sorts.
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah,
you know, it's fine. You know, this is the future. There's aliens around, and they probably have, you know, different values and different ideas about what to do and all that as they go forward here. You know, so it's not all, you know, this guy is probably not, you know, nominally Federation anyway. So
yeah, I mean, I like the jokes. I like Lower Decks and the way that they make fun of stuff, but like having these guys just be a couple of rich douchebags makes more sense.
Yeah. Well, maybe this is where the collector society began.
That's true. So the next episode is called The Most Toys. And it is where we introduce the collector Kivas Fajo and his kidnapping ways.
It's an episode that I'm rather fond of, and it you know, features the most important thing of all time in all of Star Trek: bubblegum.
Yeah, it's one of the first references to baseball we get outside of DS9.
Yes. So you know, baseball, it was apparently a thing, but just no one remembers it other than the one guy from the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we go from fan favorite character who's played by a complete asshole to fan favorite character who's one of my favorite character actors of all time, but only shows up once.
Alas, though, you know, we could maybe have you know, intermediate references times to other things he has shown up in as we go forward with Watches of Tomorrow.
Yeah,
like that time he was in Stargate. That was a really good episode, and you know, so Saul Rubinek.
Yeah, he's in cool Stargate. Guy. He's in quite a few Outer Limits episodes.
So you know, look forward to that in all of sci-fi.
How much I mean, Warehouse 13 is sort of sci-fi and like a classic sort of Victorian era sci-fi. Yes.
It's you know, a Warehouse 13, I guess, is kind of pulpy, you could say.
Yeah, well, pulp's the best kind of sci-fi.
Yes.
Anyway, that's next time. We got toys. We got really good guest stars. We got tragic stories about why they're the guest star and not somebody else is the guest star.
We got a puppet.
Oh yeah, puppets. Very bad puppet. But no matter what I do, I just can't find pictures of these puppets. I was trying to look up some of these animals for something, and there's no pictures of these damn puppets.
Well, maybe it's time to capture them yourself, and we'll post them all over the internet.
I should.
Yep.
None of the streaming sites love it when you take screenshots, but yeah.
True. Oh, unfortunately, I don't know if it still exists, but Snaps Pro.
Oh yeah.
From Ambrosia Software, who before they became utilities for Macs until their eventual sort of falling apart, they did a bunch of classic Mac games like Escape Velocity.
Oh, I love that game. I still have that somewhere.
I think they open it up so it's like you can just download it for free.
Oh, good, because it took me forever to find my old key for that.
Yeah. But anyway, we're diverging quite a bit here.
Yeah. That was the first game where I just became a space pirate and stole all the big ships, and then that was kind of the end of the game for me. I didn't follow the story. My dyslexia kept me from following that story until I was way older, because it's all reading.
Yes, it's a wonderful game, but basically the core of the plot is in dialogue boxes.
Yeah,
so yeah,
it's all dialogue boxes.
Yes, because it was invented in the 90s.
Yeah. But anyway, we're not talking about escape velocity. We're talking about the most toys, and we'll talk about that next week.
Next time on Watchers of Tomorrow, display your data. You have been listening to Watchers of Tomorrow, a podcast on science fiction media. Find and follow Watchers of Tomorrow on Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Spreader, Digital Podcast, and perhaps many more to come. If you enjoy our podcast, make sure to subscribe for more. And where possible, make sure to rate your experience or leave us a review. You may find Gepwin on youtube.com/Gepwin and Twitter @Gepwin. You may find me, Dr. Isix, on youtube.com/Dr. Isix and Twitter @IsixLP. Music is Waveform and Maury's Principle, both by DRKRN. You can also check out the Watchers of Tomorrow Discord channel. Make sure to share the experience with your friends, family, enemies, and alien overlords. If you feel you are suffering from transporter syndrome, please be aware that the next time you step off the transporter, that you, that is now, no longer exists.